astonishing. Every candidate has exceeded the selection criteria, and my expectations. Superior strength and speed, coupled with dazzling intellects and remarkable cognitive absorption rates. In another time, each could have been the next Alexander, Cleopatra, Hannibal, or Genghis Khan. My drawings of the children are horrible. One girl, number 058, engineered her own intelligence network at school to spy on the teachers. Number 117 had an unprecedented string of 45 victories over 2 weeks in a brutal version of King of the Hill. Walked away with a chipped tooth, over a dozen broken arms, collarbones, and fingers among his opponents. Number 095, oddly enough, was never located. Some have suggested limited precognition, but I'll believe in trolls under the bridge before I subscribe to pseudoscientific nonsense.
Yet again, a rather quick insert in Halsey's diary. This excerpt particularly looks at the acquisition of the candidates of the Spartan program. She notes quite clearly that practically all of the candidates have superior strength, speed, and intellects than base-level human beings, but also duly notes that several of the candidates also have additional attributes or abilities above and beyond base-level human attributes. One of the first candidates that she references directly is number 058. We know this now to be Linda. She notes that she managed to engineer her own spy intelligence network at her school. Information regarding this spy network and its level of sophistication is entirely absent. But again, if you take it into consideration that at this time Linda would have been between 5 and 6 years old, it does paint an extraordinarily clear picture that Linda was certainly head and shoulders above the rest of her peers. How many 5 or 6-year-olds are able to engineer their own intelligence network after all? Next, she references candidate 117 being John and notes that he had won 45 victories of King of the Hill, only suffering a chipped tooth as an injury versus all of his opponents receiving broken arms, collarbones, fingers, and among other injuries. The final candidate is somewhat of an outlier, number 095, otherwise known as Caleb F. Agard. At some point predating his identified viability for the Spartan program, Caleb suffered a head injury as a consequence of a farming accident. Neuroimetry of his brain conducted after the incident confirmed that he had a neural network accretion, often associated with intuitive behavior, basically otherwise known as precognition. He could somewhat see the future before it happened, at least that's the implication. Caleb was identified well before acquisition, with a biomedical record being generated featuring various biometrics. He measured 139 centimeters or 4 foot 6 inches in height, putting him nearly 9 inches taller than the average 6-year-old. His blood type was B negative, he had red hair and green eyes. He scored remarkably well in intelligence quota and was deemed as being extremely intelligent but self-sufficient and quite introverted. The reason we never hear much else from Caleb 095 is because before his acquisition, he disappeared. Though Dr. Halsey denounced the possibility of precognition and blamed the fact that they couldn't find him on failings in the mission, it does leave one wondering, did Caleb actually see his abduction coming before it happened and made himself scarce in the meantime? No further records of Caleb exists. There is no information as to whether or not his colony was ever attacked by the Covenant, and indeed in current law there's no evidence that he ever turned up for military duty in any regard. It can only be assumed then that Caleb has led a completely ordinary life, a civilian life outside of the Spartan program, fortuitously foreseeing his abduction for the Spartan program with no intention of actually becoming a part of the Spartan program in the process. It is small instances such as this individual which add substance and richness to the Halo universe, because it implies that somewhere out there is somebody who has the perfect genetics of a Spartan, is taller, faster, stronger, and more intelligent than base-level humans, and also has the ability to somewhat see the future. It would be interesting to see just what happened to Caleb and what he became in his life.